Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our 9-month Ultimate World Cruise Adventure. And today is day 136, and we're in Singapore. We only have 6 hours. See what we do during that time.
Welcome to Living Phase 2.
Hi, I'm Mike.
And I'm Nancy, and we're empty nesters striving to live life to the fullest.
And we're living that full life aboard Royal Caribbean's 9-month Ultimate World Cruise on Serenade of the Seas.
Well, we sure are. Friends, today we're in Singapore. It's like a city and a country all in one.
Is.
Kind of located at the southern tip of Malaysia. But Singapore is one of the most beautiful cities. It's one of the cleanest cities in the world.
Yeah. In fact, chewing gum is illegal here.
It is. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah. Pro tip: don't litter in Singapore.
That's right.
So,
That's right.
Yeah, but it is a beautiful city, and we're really, I think we're really blessed to be here today.
It's quite hot, and our
It's crazy
ship
hot.
docked quite early, so it was really even before sunrise. When we got up, it was still dark out, but they had some dragon dancers for us that performed very, very early before we got off the ship, and by the time we were up and around, they had finished their performance.
Yeah.
So.
I think they did it before 7 in the morning. Yeah.
And I think they were hot. They wanted to do it before the heat really set in. But when we got off the ship and we walked through the terminal, the dragon dancers were inside the terminal, and we were able to get our picture taken with them, and that was very sweet.
Yeah, it's probably a good time to mention, as we said, we really have in reality, we have 6 hours to spend here in Singapore. And the reason is, even though our ship docked about 6 a.m., you know, a town like Singapore really doesn't get up and going until at least 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So it doesn't do you any good to hop up at 6:30 in the morning and try to run off the ship, because there's really not a lot you can do or see at that time. So our tour, we arranged with a private guide, there were 6 of us, to take us around and give us a food tour in Singapore. And we were meeting him at 10 a.m. So what we did is we got off the ship, as you mentioned, at about 8:30, 9 o'clock, because there was some street art that we wanted to go see, and we found it. It was really beautiful.
It was very beautiful. But to get to that, that was all in Chinatown. We had to walk about a mile to catch the subway. And again, everything was very well marked. Things are in English, so it's very easy to navigate and to get around and find your way.
Right.
But we took the subway into Chinatown, and
the subway was really easy to use because it actually uses Apple Pay or Google Wallet or Samsung Pay.
Right.
It uses those, and all you have to do is tap your watch or your phone if you have that enabled and turned on.
Very inexpensive.
Yeah.
Very inexpensive.
The whole day
as well.
riding the subway, I think we rode it 4 or 6 times. No, 6 times. I think was $3.88.
Yeah, and actually, I would
each.
probably say Singapore's been one of the easiest countries, cities that we've been able to get around in. It's so easy.
Yep.
So anyway, we went to Chinatown. We looked at the street art was beautiful. There are the artists that do those paintings. I just thought it was phenomenal with the work that they did, and you'll see some of that here. But we met before we met our guide, there is a Buddha temple there,
and it's the Budda Tooth Temple. So it's actually I want to make sure I get the name, the Zu or Ten Temple, very famous, and it's in Chinatown, right by the Chinatown Hawker Market, which we're going to tell you about in a minute. And this temple is famous because it has a relic, it has a tooth of Buddha in the temple. And so that's up on the 4th floor, and it's encased in 320 kilograms of gold. So you're talking about almost 700 pounds of gold is the encasing and the enclosure that it's in. And to see it, there is a couple things. One, ladies do have to have their knees and shoulders covered.
Yes, yeah. So you want to make sure you're prepared for that if that's the place you're going to go.
Right. And if you're going to actually go into the area right next to where they have the relic, you do have to take your shoes off in that area, and no photography within the temple. So that's why you won't see us any photography in there. I did actually go up to the 4th floor and took a look at the relic, and it's quite stunning, all the gold and all the adornment that's up there. It was really quite fascinating. The temple itself on the outside was very beautiful.
No, it really was. It was very, very pretty.
Yeah.
Well, when we had finished up at the Budda Temple, then we walked a couple blocks into Chinatown there, and we met our guide.
Yeah.
And we were actually a little bit early,
Mm-hmm.
but it was nice because he had contacted us through WhatsApp.
Right. And there's a pro tip here. When you're doing international travel like this and you're arranging private guides or just trying to communicate with anybody, it's not a commercial for WhatsApp. We're not sponsored by them or anything. It's owned by Meta, Facebook, and it's a free app. It has become pretty much the international de facto standard for communicating
Yes.
outside of cellular networks like phone calls and text messages. It's super easy. If all you have is the internet connection, you can use WhatsApp. And that's how most of the guides that we are communicating with are
Right.
using. They give us their WhatsApp phone number, which is their phone number. We give them ours, and then it's super easy to communicate. So be sure to get on WhatsApp, and don't and that's how a good way that you can
downloaded on your
communicate.
phone. Well, we had met our guide then, and he took us to the Chinatown Market Hawkers Center.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a fascinating place. It's several stories high with many, many, many food booths,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all hawkers. Now, hawkers had just little food stands outside on the streets, but unfortunately, place on the street you don't have running water, and so they were able to create a building and bring all of these hawkers together where they have running water and good sanitary practices, and now it's a safe place for them to make and sell their food.
Yeah, in fact, they're rated by the Singapore Health Department with an A, B, C, D, F rating, and in our, you can imagine A is the best, etc. But our guide said, "Oh, you want to look for D? That means delicious because they're the best ones."
Yeah, I think we had all A ratings.
We did.
So,
But our guide came together and he went and selected some of his favorite ones. And again, it's so early. This is 10 in the morning. So we really had a bit more of a breakfast than we did lunch, and a lot of the food courts or a lot of the food hawkers were not open yet, but he obviously does this food tour quite often. He knows the ones that he likes to go to.
Right.
So he picked certain things for us to go try. So we staked out a large picnic table in the food court area where they have seating, and he set everything out. I thought one of the things that was interesting, he said, is because sometimes tables can be difficult to get and you have to get up, and it's like a food court, you go get your things. All you have to do is lay like a box of napkins on the table, and that tells people this is your table. In fact, he said Singapore is so safe, people leave their laptops, their phones, all kinds of things. Now, he did not recommend doing that. They said they do it all the time. He goes, their crime rate is so low in Singapore that, people do that. Now, again, we are not recommending doing that. Our guide didn't recommend doing that because there's a lot of change happening in Singapore, and he said maybe it's not quite as safe as it used to be. But he said if you go to a market like this, just have your box of Kleenexes or napkins or hand wipes, throw it on the table, and that tells people that's our table.
Right. And by the way, napkins are not provided.
That's right.
So you
bring
do
your own.
need
BYON.
to bring your own. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we started off with?
Yeah, we started off with duck rice, which was really good. We'd had the chicken rice before, but this was a little bit different, having duck, and I thought it was quite flavorful.
Yeah, and Singapore is known for chicken rice. If you go there, you'll hear about it all the time. And our guy said, well, you can get chicken rice anywhere. So, he picked the duck rice, and it was, I would agree, it was very good, very good.
Right. He also gave us spring rolls, vegetarian spring rolls. I thought those were absolutely delicious.
Yep.
And they weren't fried, but they were actually cooked in a pan, and very, very good.
Yep. And since it was more of a breakfast, he brought out toast, but the toast in between the layers had a coconut jam, and that was really good. But then what he did is take soft boiled eggs, and we mean soft, very runny eggs, and you put them in a little saucer, and then you would, with the toast, would eat the raw egg, dip your toast in there. And that's how I like my eggs, are really runny. And so some people may not like that, but I thought it was just really good. A very, very good breakfast there for that. And then what else did we have?
So the next thing we also had was milk coffee.
Oh, yes.
So it's got a lot of milk. It's probably about half milk, half coffee, and then there's sugar added to it as well.
Wasn't as good as the Saigon egg cream coffee, but it certainly was a good coffee.
It was
I enjoyed that too. Yeah.
And we had a spicy noodle dish that had tofu in it.
Yep. And it had some good spice to it. I enjoyed that. I think it was a little spicy for you.
And some rice cakes.
Yeah, and those were really almost gelatinous. Yeah, and with a sauce on them. And I think that was, it was just okay. I don't think that was your favorite either, was
no,
it?
it wasn't. But
Yeah.
the spring rolls were probably and the duck rice were my favorite.
And there were 6 of us, and oh my gosh, there was so much food he brought out. And this was our first stop, you know. But the nice thing, being at the Hawker Center, we could try all kinds of different food without having to move around to different areas. Well, one of the reasons we did pick doing a food tour is Singapore is such an international destination that there are foods and tastes from all around the world. And in fact, in this Hawker Center, you could have food from almost anywhere in the world. And one of the really neat things is the very first Michelin star rated food hawker is in this Hawker Center.
Hawker Chan.
Hawker Chan. And unfortunately, it was not open yet because we're there so early. As we were leaving, we noticed he had just opened up and was serving. But now remember in Osaka, we mentioned we went to a couple of Michelin listed restaurants. And so those are in the Michelin Guide, but they're not necessarily have not achieved a star. Hawker Chan actually has a Michelin star, and it's the first one in the world. So if you're in the area of Singapore, you can give a Michelin star rated Hawker, I hate to call it a Hawker food stall, we'll call it, a try. So that was kind of interesting. Well, we left the Chinatown Hawker Center and we went to?
Right. Well, we were heading to the subway, and as we were heading to the subway, we passed by a calligraphy shop, which was quite fascinating. The calligraphy brushes, some of them were massive. They were so huge.
And they're not just for display, they're really used.
They are, that is correct. They are really used. And they were doing calligraphy there in the shop. And it would have been kind of fascinating to get our name in calligraphy. We didn't, but it was fun to watch anyway.
Yeah, Chinatown was really quite fascinating here in Singapore. And this is another, problem with having such a short time. We could have spent hours walking around Chinatown. It was really, really a very interesting Chinatown. But we had to get going, so we headed to the subway to go to Little India because we're in our next food stop along the way.
We are. So this was another interesting place. The first place he took us to was kind of a market, a fruit and vegetable market. They probably had other things there too, but we were looking at the fruits and vegetables, and our guide purchased some rambutan and some mangosteen. So those are unusual fruits that I don't normally buy at home, but they were quite flavorful and good.
Yeah, that was how we started off. And then again, this was kind of a hawker center as well. There was all kinds of, but it was all Indian food. So tons of Indian restaurants. And so our guide we got once again a table in the area, and he went and picked his favorite ones. And so we tried all kinds of different Indian dishes. And one of them, a roti, was even very famous because the president of Singapore, the prime minister, I think it's president in Singapore, this was his favorite restaurant, and he actually would get the roti from here. And so they have big signs and pictures of him in there. Well, in addition to that famous roti, and I mean, that was one of the things we had. What else did we have?
Well, we had a chicken biryani, which was a chicken and rice dish. Very good.
Yeah.
And
with that roti.
With the roti. Yeah, the roti, by the way, they serve with a curry sauce, and they also dip it in sugar. So
or both. Which was kind of interesting. Curry
yes.
with sugar, but yeah, it wasn't bad. Yeah, trying it that way.
We had ginger tea. So this was a hot tea and very spicy. It had quite a bite to it.
With the ginger, And then we had that roti with bananas in it too, right?
That was good. That was very good.
So overall, it was a good Indian meal. That's one of the things about Singapore. It is so international. You can get almost any kind of food that you want there. And, that was one of the reasons we decided to do a food tour here. Well, after those 2 different stops, we're really running out of time. We've already spent 4 to 5 hours. We got to start working our way back to the ship.
We do. We got on the subway, and we had to make a change from one train to the next in order to get back to the ship. And where we had made the train change, there was actually a mall there, so we stopped at the shopping mall.
Right, just because we were always trying to maximize our time. We had about 30 minutes, and so went right up above from where the trains were, and just walked through the mall a little bit. And you found a very Nancy shop.
I did. It was a place called Spotlight, but it really was like a Joann's fabrics with lots of bolts of fabric and all kinds of craft making supplies. And so that was fun to walk through. But yeah, we only had about 30 minutes, and then we caught that second subway and took it back to the ship.
Well, we arrived back at the port train station, and once again, we mentioned it's about a 1 kilometer walk from there to the ship. We made it back with maybe about 15-20 minutes to spare before all aboard, and we all got back on board, and we decided to just meet, sit down, relax a little bit, and have some Singapore slings, because we did not have them.
We're in Singapore.
We're in
Why
Singapore.
not?
That's right. Well, the Singapore sling, if you guys are interested, is a drink that was developed at the Raffles Hotel, specifically at the Long Bar at Raffles Hotel. So many tourists come there. It's mainly tourists, and they have to have a traditional Singapore sling there. Raffles was quite a ways away from where we were at. We were nowhere near that neighborhood. But a little bit of a warning here. If you want to have that original Singapore sling at Raffles at the Long Bar, it's $36 for one drink.
Some of those on the cruise ship did go there, and they said that it was very good.
Yep, they enjoyed it. They enjoyed the experience,
not.
but we didn't. I actually did go there on a business trip many years ago when I was doing some business in Malaysia and Singapore, and I've had one there. I don't know if it's worth $36 to check that box.
I can't imagine that it would be.
Because honestly, the ones they made on the ship were pretty good. Well, after relaxing and recovering from the heat with our Singapore slings, we went to the headliner show.
We did. It was Liam Cooper, who's called the King of the Keys, and he sings songs and plays the piano. It's Elton John songs and Billy Joel, and he's very energetic and a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I enjoyed him a lot because he wasn't imitating them. He was just playing their songs.
Yeah, good
and I
songs
think that
to
was
sing
really
along to.
Yeah, it was. A lot of fun. Yep.
And while we're finishing up here in Singapore, we wanted to do a quick shout out to Fran and Allison, who live in Singapore. They came aboard the ship and have been traveling with us for this last mini leg, and it's been nice to chat with you. So thank you, and we enjoyed meeting you.
We enjoyed meeting you a lot. Yeah, hi Fran and hi Allison. Yeah. Well, when we had to get some rest then after the headliner show, because tomorrow we're going to Kuala Lumpur. It's going to be another scorching hot day, and we're going to climb hundreds and hundreds of stairs up to the Batu Caves. These are famous World UNESCO site caves, and once you see it, you're going to be blown away, as we were.
So be sure to stay tuned for that, friends. Like, subscribe, turn on those notifications, and we will be seeing you very soon. Have a beautiful day. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.